but don't know what LNU means. That means last name unknown.
And he a police.
He was working that night. He was working in 1995 on December the 8th, and what he was working to do was, he was working, Johnny, you might know this guy. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Johnny Savory. At 14 years old, they accused him of a double murder. And he don't supposed to be here today. They was trying to fry him. But his will to fight and people helping him, not let him go. He'll tell you the story, but it's a real deep story. But anyway, this is the slug, Deputy Superintendent of Internal Affairs that he was working for, Michael W. Hoke. H-O-K-E. And if you take the H off and put a J there, it would be joke because that's what he was.
Okay.
All right. He was working on December the 8th, 1995 for the Chicago Police Department. And Michael Hope had set up this scenario where they went and got a person that looked something similar to me. And later I found out we might be related, which is hell, ain't it? No. But anyway, they had a schedule that I was gonna rob this lady right here, this female FBI agent. For all you ladies that went to college, she was the national treasurer for the Delta Sigma Theta organization, sorority. So y'all know what that means if you was in a sorority. She just betrayed the black people because she worked in a stage robbery. And the best thing about this thing that I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, is they put it on paper and they put it on film. It's not my word against theirs. I don't want y'all to think that we're just sitting out here wasting our time. Some of y'all been here before with me. And they've been skating around and taking papers and putting them from one desk to the other. And I just got tired. And the reason we picked today's date, for those who didn't hear me before, is this is the day that he died 22 years ago. On July the 11th, 2000. He was killed on the west side in the 11th district. This is the gentleman that they got to participate in this stage robbery. His name is Charles Vaughn. He didn't even know this was a stage robbery. He believed that these were just the guys from the hood going to rob a drug dealer's girlfriend from Milwaukee. He had no knowledge, he told me. He said, I thought this was something that we were doing to get some money. I didn't know this was all part of a police frame-up. The reason they got him, excuse me, and here he is again. Sorry about that. If you can see his picture again, is that was me when I was young. And some of y'all saying, damn, yeah, I know. But look here, don't start no signifying. Because you know, y'all know, I can take some of y'all. Okay, we won't go there. Well, anyway,
Let's go there.
that was me, right? Okay, watch this. This is how we look together. This is how we look together. Huh? You see how, and guess what else? They didn't just choose him abstractly. He's close to my height and my weight. Now we could be brothers because he's close to my age. And his grandmother I interviewed, she told me that she came from down in the area where my father came from, and they were related to McCoys. So you know how we all related some way or another. Well, anyway, in order to get him over to that location, Mr. Charles Vaughn did not have a car to get over there. He lived on Pulaski and Augusta. In order to get him over there to 5721 West Bloomingdale, he had to get a car. Now I'm gonna show you how sinister some of these so-called policemen are.
Most of them, not some. Sure.
This gentleman's name is Sergeant Peter Kokonis. He worked in internal affairs. He gave their other officer an undercover police car to take to a citizen to go and do a robbery. Is it getting a little deeper now? To show you how smart they are, this guy named is Herb Brown Jr. He worked in internal affairs. But what would preclude him from working in internal affairs is one day in June the 14th, 1994, me and Officer Edward Lee Jackson Jr., better known as Pac-Man, was at 26th of California in a trial. He was on the west side working in narcotics for Michael W. Hope. And what happened was, he was over there allegedly trying to buy drugs. And I had two big white guys look like middle linebacker and a black guy look like an outside linebacker stop him. And he decided to flex his muscle. Well, these guys, if they were here today, in 1995, they could go over there and pick that building up. Trust what I tell you when I tell you this. They were real guys. And anybody been out on the street know what real guys are. You got to kill them. He decided he was going to show them that they wasn't going to do him. They picked him up by his neck. And he was up. He's about your height, coach. And they picked him up by his neck. And he was screaming. Then what happened was, here it is, Michael Hope got transferred to internal affairs. He filed a lawsuit against my team, so that would preclude him from being involved in any frame-up of my team. He worked on my team because the city, he had hired a white lawyer named Kevin Rogers. And Kevin Rogers got him a settlement for $25,000. Now, everything that I say to you, again, this is not conjectures. Evidence win cases. I got all this evidence with their signature on it. Kevin Rogers told him, without knowing that he was transferred out, that here it is, I got you a settlement of $25,000. He got mad at Kevin Rogers, cussed him out, and said, I don't want no $25,000. I deserve anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million. Kevin Rogers told him, man, get out of here. You owe me $8,000, I want my money. He said, screw you, and went and got Flint Taylor at Flint Taylor's law firm up on Milwaukee, who's used to suing the city, your lawyer. Okay? And they start fighting for this gentleman to get more money. In the meantime, Hope tells him to follow Officer Myron Robinson over to Pulaski and Augusta, where a laundromat is, to take an undercover police car so that he can give it to Charles Vaughn to come over and do this staged robbery so that they could arrest me for robbing an FBI agent. He's the one right here. He drove the car.
Thank you very much.
Now, for all those who don't know what a real black man is, this is a real black man. This is the spook that's set by the door. He wears a kufi. His name is Lorenzo Jackson. He filmed the whole thing. I owe my life to this gentleman right here. Because you have never seen a policeman film a crime where all of them are getting ready to go to jail for the murder of this lady's son. He filmed the whole thing. And you can tell him, because you can tell by what he wears on his head, and when you see him in person, you would believe that he's Jomo Kenyatta. But if you shut your eyes and you were getting ready to be hanged, he'd be the first one to tell the Ku Klux Klan, hang that nigga. This guy right here, trust me when I tell you, this guy is a real Tom. This gentleman right here, his assignment that day was to follow Charles Vaughn when he get the car from the laundromat over to the robbery scene and back to the laundromat so that Myron Robinson could get the car, take it back to IAD Corrupt Practices Headquarters, so that nobody would know the difference. Because in their case report, they said that the cars belonged to a lady at the laundromat. And as I said before on other shows, how many black women drive 2 cars to the laundromat? If you don't know who this is Mr. Joseph Earhart. He got shot in the head working with the FBI by a bank robber, and he's gone on the other side of the world right now. He's dead. I asked Miss Marla Taylor, I said, Miss Taylor, when you went to the hospital that night, knowing that she's been working at the University of Chicago, she's seen death up close, right? I said, describe to me, how did the policeman look that night that came and talked to you, that you told me, that said that they were going to find the killer of your son? She said he was tall as you, he was white, and he wore glasses. Anybody recognize who this guy is? This is David March. You should recognize him. He got indicted for the cover-up of the Laquan McDonald killing. He's the one that told Mrs. Taylor, Donnie Taylor's mother, that he was going to find her killer. This is him right here. He found her. Now you say, well, how do you know he found her? Here's the arrest report. Here's the arrest report. And officers, I got about 5 officers out here. And I'm gonna ask Mr. Johnny Sabry. It says the first arresting officer, what is his name?
David.
David what?
David March.
See what I'm talking about? He arrested that gentleman right there, and he charged him with this murder. But see, these were not police officers. These were Keystone cops. They never, ever been around criminals they thought was criminals. So when they arrested him, they fingerprinted him and they processed him. And they took him upstairs in Area 4. And they probably told him, because it was 7 of them, they probably told him, nigga, you gonna fry. And they talked to him. And they was laughing at him because he was facing the electric chair. And I surmised this. It doesn't have to be true. And they kept messing with him for 48 hours. But him, he had something in his pocket that they didn't see. He had the December the 8th robbery. And he called David March in to the interview room. And he told David March, if y'all prosecute me for this murder, I'm going to tell about the Austin 7. I'm going to tell that it was me, Myron Robinson, Herb Brown Jr., Michael W. Hope, and Myron Robinson seeing Herb Brown Jr. give the $500 that I gave him to Michael W. Hope. That would put the whole police department in the drain. Everybody in this building would be out on the street, and there wouldn't be no more police department. Trust what I tell you. So what did David March do? David March went and talked to his supervisor. And his supervisor went and talked to his supervisor. And they were told not to do anything to this gentleman right here who killed that lady's son. They said, give him his stuff back, open up the door, and let him go, and tear up all the paperwork. But they couldn't tear this up. Because when this thing hit that cyberspace called a computer, it went out in the air. And all the time, Red Ross been with me a long time, I kept asking them, who is this guy Phil, last name I know? And they told me they didn't know. They brought me down here. And most policemen will tell you, you cannot have a press conference about the police department and still keep your job. But I've had 10 of them. They say you can't be on the radio and disparage the police department and keep your job. I'm on the radio all the time. In fact, here it is. Y'all think that I just started talking to y'all. Me, John Davis, Miss Stingley, that I got introduced by Miss Karen Hicks, and my girl right there, not you, man, I'm talking about your wife.
Alicia.
Alicia and Miss Hicks introduced me to Miss Stingley. And Minister Farrakhan's minister, Muhammad. And John Davis set up an interview with Kim Fox people a couple years ago. And he brought me in. And Miss Stingley was talking about her daughter that was killed. And then John said to me, well, you talk to her. And in the room that day was Joe Magette, the first deputy to Kim Fox, the lady that's in charge of felony prosecution, and the white lady that was in charge of felony review. And any policeman tell you that when you get a murderer, those are the people you talk to on the 11th floor of a 26th floor. Come on over, brother.
You know he's free. Her killer is free.
I know. Watch this. I'm going to show you what happened. And I sit there, and I talk to him like I'm talking to you. And it got boring until I put that thing all together. And I gave him a copy of this arrest report. Now, by rules and regulations, when I gave him a copy of evidence of a murder, the first thing he should have did is go in his office, run this guy's IR number right here, 904-967 on the computer. And this was in 2019. And it would have told you that this gentleman right here is still at over at Kedzie and Harrison, waiting to go to court 19 years later. Now it's 22 years later. All right? He had an investigator call me the next day. And the investigator called me up on the phone, and he said, what else do you have? I said, I gave you enough, and I hung up the phone. I'm not going to do your work for you. So that wasn't good enough. So Harold Davis, the late, great Harold Davis, had an opportunity to have Joe Ferguson. You know Joe Ferguson and know every goddamn thing. And I'm being honest about this. You know, he don't know. It ain't nothing he don't know. He know where the policeman's supposed to be. He know where the truck driver's supposed to be. Well, he was on the radio show with us in November of 2019. And I had this talk with him that I'm having with y'all, and I gave him this. And Harold Davis, it's all on Facebook, and Harold Davis said, hey, Mr. Ferguson, is that investigation, how is it that TC did? And on the air, he said, man, that's a solid investigation. In fact, I walked with him 2 blocks to his car. By law, if y'all don't know this, he was supposed to tell me to get in my car and come to his office, and they were supposed to stop the press until they found out if this was true. And they were supposed to bring all these people in that I named and me, and we all supposed to raise our right hand and solemnly swear to the truth. Well, I got news for y'all. If y'all don't know about Michael Hope, you know who he is, don't you? He's the first partner to John Byrd that tortured all those black people out south. The difference between him torturing me and my partner and my other partners is a whole different story, because anytime you go on the west side, you ask them about that 80 team and say, hey man, would you threaten them guys? And he'll tell you, hell no. Because those guys didn't believe in coming in the front door. They came through the window and you jumped out the window, because those guys didn't take threats. But we treated everybody good. But this guy right here was allowed to participate and kill this black woman's son. And I want y'all ladies to understand that your kid could have been next. Remember, every morning, don't you wake up, 12 shot, nobody caught? And shit, I called him. They called him and I recalled him. And right now today, this gentleman right here is walking the street. And he's been accused of a murder. In fact, let me tell you something. Before he participated in the robbery as a rogue police officer, he was arrested 19 times. and then he did the murder. And what he was arrested for highlighted was aggravated battery. He shot people. He was put in prison for possession of a controlled substance. He was doing armed robbery. So if he had been caught that day and they let him get away, we wouldn't be standing here today. But we have to come together because these young people here need to know. Every time we watch TV, we don't never see us on there except when they have all these shootings up in Highland, which I'm totally against any shooting. I don't care what community it is, right? But damn, they had a big shooting over there on King Drive at 64th, and they ain't showed that shit on the news. And every day you got the people at Highland. The people in Highland, they showing that even this morning. This lady lost her only child, and his baby's mother told me, she said, I did her a favor when she left here. She put his urine in her casket so they could be buried together. We need to tell the world about this, and we're not going back in no more. We're not going to accept IAD killing our kids and these police officers killing our kids, and they can't find them. Shit, they right in the goddamn building.
Come on.
And then they blame these other officers and send these officers away. And he's not here today because we don't want him here today. But Officer Edward Jackson Jr., better known as Pac-Man, for this robbery, they gave him 150 years for a damn robbery he didn't do. And the warden, and me and John Davis was listening to the call, and the warden wrote him a letter of recommendation to get out of the federal penitentiary. And all he said was, in his 25 years of being a warden, he has never had a more model prisoner than Officer Edward Jackson Jr. The only thing he did in the 25 years he was framed was help people get their GED. And the U.S. attorney who framed him told the judge, well, just give him 6 more years. And the judge said, I'm not giving him 6 more nothing. And we here because anybody that knows me, this ain't my first rodeo. I've been fighting for black people all the time. I might wear that blue, but if that blue ain't right, I'm gonna fight their ass too. And we need to get all these punks, all of them. And they all put their name on this stuff. So we need to have our press conference. I want y'all to stand so we can have a press conference and identify this department that decided that one more letter I'm gonna give y'all, and then I'm through. I couldn't go get no brother, because the brother want money before he start working. Let's be real now, because this ain't no joke with me. I had a lawyer, black lawyer, tell me, if you raise $2 million, we'll take your case. I did all the work, so I asked him, I said, well, if you count every dime you made from the time you came out your mother's womb to the day, it would equal $2 million. So you want me to validate your sordid ass lawyer degree about giving you some money to do what? The Jewish lawyer, Alan Orlowski, who has been with me from day one in 1997, came down here with me in 2016. And we went in there to talk to IAD about all this information. And we waited in the lobby 45 minutes. And the sergeant came downstairs and told me and Alan Orlowski, the lawyer for Pac-Man and all the rest of them, we're not gonna take no more T.C. McCoy's complaint. He just gotta do what he gotta do, and I'm finna do what I gotta do.
Come on, T.C.
So let's do what we gotta do. News people are here, and all y'all are here supporting us, and we all together. So stand behind me and let's fight these devils together.
Yeah. Thank you, T.C.
All right.
Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to tell y'all, this is the surprise. When the guy got out of the car to do the robbery, he had on Michael Holt's hat. Michael Holt's hat. They said, how did you get it? Everybody that tells you they hate me, don't you believe it? When you see the film, it's on the website. Ask Keith McDonald about it. You're going to tell that this is his hat because it got gold braids, and anybody that's a police officer know this is a commander's hat, correct? Michael Hogue's hat. I told you I was going to get him, didn't I? This is his hat. I want him to take the 5th now and a 45 to go with it.
All right. All right.
So let's deal with what we got to deal with. Let's go.
You scared, huh?
Hell no.
You ain't scared, huh?
Yes, sir. Excuse me.
Hey, Queen.
Love you. Family. Trust. Bone.
Just come get in front of me, please. Standing right here. Excuse me.
But every time you work through this shot, they shoot 30.
Right, right.
Yeah, I knew they were lying on the camera, so they talk about it.
Hey, y'all, hey, Walt. Come on over. Most of these guys, when y'all grew up, they was neighborhood tough guys. That guy right there, that was a real man right there. Trust what I tell you, he wasn't no organization man. There wasn't no organization gonna mess with that man, and nobody else. Hey, Walt, thanks for coming.
Thank you, TC, for staying on.
There you go. There you go.
Staying on top of this. This is
A
what
lot
we
of them
need.
ain't gonna say nothing.
Yep.
I should take my head off. Hey, listen, I want, if y'all don't mind, let the women come forward because, and the guys, because we all black men, I want the women to come forward because the women are the ones who lost their loved ones. And so,
When you repair the woman, you repair the community.
yeah. Red Ross coined that phrase, they all queens.
Yeah. I would have picked her up. She going through. She's going through.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Good kid. Yeah. Today we're here as concerned people from all over the city. Normally they try to say that we are here because it's a neighborhood thing. This is a nation thing. A lady that did so much for a lot of people at the University of Chicago. She came from the West Side. Her name was Marla Nadine Taylor. Marla was so young that at 16 she graduated from Crane High School. Marla met and married her husband of a lifetime, Donnie Taylor. And from that union became a person named Donnie A. Taylor Jr. How I got to meet Marla Taylor is in 2012, in 2012, I was looking for a gentleman named Phil. The police department claimed that they didn't know his last name. He was a young man that Michael W. Hogue had hired to participate in the robbery of an FBI agent named Deborah Jones Buggs. Deborah Jones Buggs was a female FBI agent working out of downtown, and she was set up so that I would be the one they charged with robbing Mrs. Deborah Jones Buggs. Well, what happened was they hired Mr. Donnie Taylor, they hired this gentleman right here. Let me see the picture, please. Thank you, brother. They hired this gentleman named Phil, last name unknown, to be in this robbery so that he can participate in the robbery of this lady. This is the picture of the gentleman right here. They claimed that they didn't know his last name, but I finally found his last name. His name is Philip K. Edwards. Philip K. Edwards participated in the robbery of an FBI agent. He had the help of Michael W. Holt. He had the help of now Sergeant Herb Brown Jr. He had the help of Lorenzo Jackson. He had the help of Myron Robinson. He had the help of Sergeant Peter Kokonis. He had the help of Superintendent Matt Rodriguez. He had the help of James Townsend. And Mayor Richard M. Daley gave them $5 million to complete this conspiracy to destroy the Austin community. For those who didn't know, President Bill Clinton came to the Austin community in July of 1995. Commander Leroy Shields introduced him to me in the lobby in the 15th District at 5327 West Chicago Avenue. And President Clinton came over and talked to me, and he said, I heard y'all were doing a good job, because we had taken the second worst crime district and the #1 crime district on the west side of Chicago to be the third most livable district in the city of Chicago. But apparently during the course of my investigation, I found out we must have been stopping somebody's money. Somebody that wanted black people to be on drugs. And we wouldn't let them be on drugs. We wouldn't let our black young men and women get out there and sell drugs. So in order to get us out of this menagerie, they decided that they were going to frame me, and they fired my partner, Jerry Sappho, claiming that he pissed hot when Jerry Sappho died from Agent Orange as a Vietnam War veteran. But they killed that lady's son, and they thought they could get away with it. And the gentleman who caught that lady's son and didn't know he was a police officer is Mr. David March. And for those who don't remember Mr. March, Detective March was indicted in the Laquan McDonald cover-up. And he told Miss Taylor that he was going to find her murderer, and he did. But when he found Philip K. Edwards told them that if y'all process me and indict me and arraign me for this murder, I'm going to tell about the Austin 7. I'm going to say it was all these other people and not these officers that y'all had arrested. And he also said to them, I'm going to tell them that Herb Brown Jr., I gave him $500, and Myron Robinson seen Herb Brown Jr. give that same $500 to Michael W. Holt that night at Corrupt Practices headquarters. They charged Officer Jackson with this robbery. And he subsequently got 150 years in the penitentiary. But just thanks to God and truth in sentencing by Donald Trump, he was allowed to be released last year. But most black people, when they get out of the penitentiary, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing they do is look down at the ground. You see some of these officers here, they were on my team. They never looked down at the ground. All we knew is that we were going to get these policemen that did this to us and did that to that community. When you went to the penitentiary and you could not get the people that we placed in the penitentiary to lie and get a get out of jail free card, that should tell you who we are. One of them in this investigation told me, he said, when I couldn't give them a get out of free jail card to lie on y'all, I went back and told them, we need to leave this alone. Because I ain't never seen this in all my years, that the criminals don't want the police back in jail with them. But when you treat people good and you live where you work at, and if you want to stop crime, you want to stop crime in our community, hire the people from the neighborhood and where it's happening. You don't need to take no test. You take a test every day, you get up and get home. Right here on the 5th floor, we have IAD. the Internal Affairs Division, and they are not allowed to investigate their own self. They told me that they wasn't going to do nothing about it, so we got tired of this. Me and John Davis and the attorney Alan Giolowski, we got tired and we decided that today, the day that this gentleman, Donnie A. Taylor Jr. died, we were going to have a press conference in front of this headquarters, and we was going to tell the world from this point on until we get all these people rounded up and marched in front of a camera and go to jail for the rest of their life, what they did to that community. Because if you go over to the Austin community right now, it went from the third most livable district.
Yes.
It's the #1 crime district in the whole city of Chicago. They walk up and down the street shooting. And when we go over there, they ask us, I wish y'all was there now. Because when y'all were out on the street, they didn't come outside. And you got these kind of people leading the police department. And if you think I'm lying, go in there right now and tell them that Officer T.C. McCoy, retired, said he would go to the grand jury at the Dirksen building, the grand jury at 26th Street on the 4th floor, and raise his hand on one condition. All y'all come and raise y'all hand. And they'll tell you, man, we get ready to have lunch. Well, we finna get ready to have dinner because all of them are getting ready to go to jail. And we're no longer going to accept our people being killed. And nobody says nothing about it. As of today, it is over with. And if you really think I'm kidding you, we got a link where you would see this robbery and you would see Philip K. Edwards with this hat on his head. This is Michael Holt's hat on Philip K. Edwards' head. Michael Holt's hat. And they said, how did you get it? Well, how you thought I got it? When people tell you that they hate me, don't you believe it? Some people tell you they cuss them out and say, oh, I hate that nigga. That's what they call me. But in the background, they go get on the phone and they say, be careful. And they got this hat. This is Michael Holt's hat. This is evidence #1. Getting out of Michael Holt's black Caprice department-issued Chevrolet to do a robbery. And as I said to the group before, this is not conjectures that I'm doing here, ladies and gentlemen. I got evidence with a signature on it that this was told to them before they framed those young men. And they sent them away anyway. One officer executes somebody 16 times, he get 8 years.
Come on.
A man get framed and he get 150 years.
Yeah.
And you thought that we was just gonna let our brothers die? So I'm telling everybody that here's the story. And hopefully they play our story because, you know, if it ain't newsworthy, don't they say that? It ain't newsworthy, they don't put it on. Well, this is newsworthy.
Sure is.
Michael Holt, if you want to find him, he's in Hyde Park off of 53rd Street, right over there in one of them townhouses. He's on Facebook. He said, be my friend. Well, Johnny in the penitentiary gonna be your damn friend.
Okay.
And Michael Holt, and I'm not bragging, because I'm the scaredest guy in the world. They say, aren't you scared? And all I say to people is, I just do what you do. And if you don't know what that is, don't mess with me. I do what you do. I'll be 72 next month. I done seen more than I thought I'd ever see. So if you call yourself gonna jump on me or you gonna hurt me, always remember now, I do what you do. But I guarantee you I do it better.
Come on, TC, come on.
What we need now is closure for Miss Taylor and her son. We need to have some peace in our heart because the last conversation I had with Miss Taylor, she said, T.C. McCoy, I want two things. I want justice, and I promised her I was going to get it for her. And she said, I want compensation for my grandkids. And believe it or not, we're going to get them for her. Me and my group of people.
Yes, we
So thank you very much for coming out today. I
Yes, we
appreciate it. Nobody have any questions? Well, that's good. So
I have a
appreciate it.
question.
Yes.
So this is why Laquan got out early. I mean, the man who killed Laquan, Van Dyke.
Van Dyke.
Because is he caught up in this?
No, Van Dyke was not caught up in this. But David March, if you go back, ladies and gentlemen, and you look at the film of when the verdict came in, and I want you to concentrate on David March's face. When your parents brought you home and you knew you was gonna get that thing tan, you were scared and shaking and stuff, crying and stuff, thought that did you any good, right? When you look at David March's face when the verdict came in, he never changed his facial expressions like he knew what was happening.
Wow.
And when they walked over to him to shake his hand, he never looked at the guy he was shaking hands with. He looked straight ahead. One thing about being a good police officer, I watch everything you do. Everybody has a signature. Everybody out here has a signature. You have a walk, you have a mannerism, it's something that you do. And everybody watches. I watch everything you do. I watch the way you walk, how you try to be tough. Well, it took 7 of them to go get Mr. Philip K. Edwards from Cook County Jail to arrest him. I'm not bragging, but it just took me and Crater Faith. We just called him up and tell him, say, hey man, we want to see you tomorrow. And we came to work. I swear for God in Christ, he was sitting on that bench waiting for us. Was it like that? If you think I'm lying, you go over there and ask people about it. All I had to do was tell somebody in your family, I want to see you, and you be there. It took 7 of them to get him. And all they thought that they were going to do was they were going to harm him. And he told them what to do. And those people right there let him go. So what y'all need to do is go in there. I'll give you the arrest report if you want to go in there. And you tell them to run the arrest report on the computer right now. And it would tell you that David March is at Kedzie and Harrison 22 years later, still sitting over there, they lying, waiting to be arraigned at 26th Street. You could take the arrest report in there, and I guarantee you, we just ran and he's still waiting. But remember one thing, Kedzie and Harrison was closed for 6 years, so he was sitting over there by himself.
Come on, TC.
Cable had ran
Come
out,
out.
right? Cable ran
Come
out.
out.
So he was looking at a blank screen, right? Yeah, okay. So ladies and gentlemen,
TC, I want to ask you, how can you shoot 30 people, and you come out with your hands up and you're okay?
Yeah.
And you run away from your car and get shot 60 times in the back.
well, again,
I'm just.
Red, listen, he asked a real serious question.
No.
I'm not a evidence technician.
Yes, sir.
So remember now, I want y'all to pay attention because I want to keep y'all alive. If the police stop you, don't get out and run because they can't chase you. But if they shoot you, they can walk up on you, right?
Yeah.
So if the police stop you, jump out the car and jump on the ground.
Yeah. There you go.
Remember that. Just jump out the car and jump on the ground. It sounds crazy, but you're still alive because
Exactly.
anybody that gets shot 60 times,
Yeah.
he didn't shoot them. They didn't shoot him. He was executed.
Right.
So let's call it like it is. Because remember now, when the police shoot one of us, he shot us. Oh, he shot them. But he executed that man 60 times.
What if you lay on the ground, you can jump on the ground, and they still shoot you?
Well, then I tell you what, then we got a better case because now they're trying to find out how they could get away from that 60 shot.
But you dead.
We're going to be dead anyway, but watch this. Watch this. One thing about this, I learned from Harold Davis.
You ain't got no case.
Harold Davis used to teach us this at the radio
Yes, he
station.
did.
He said, who you give your money to is who you give your power to. So I'm watching TV all weekend and waiting for Al Sharpton to come on to talk about the man in Akron, Ohio, right?
Yeah.
But he ain't got the so-called brother, Ben Crump, as a lawyer, so he ain't giving it that much airtime.
Come on.
He can't do the man's funeral and claim he knew the man all his life. I'm going to tell you what's real. If you get caught, just say I'm caught.
Right, right.
If you got a ticket coming, what's a ticket?
Right, exactly.
That ain't nothing. You can't bring yourself back from the dead, ladies and gentlemen. But we're going to try to get some compensation for this man who was killed by this policeman. And we're going to get it as soon as possible. What's the next step? The next step, the next step is that me, the attorney Alan Orlowski, and John Davis have already made arrangements to let the world know, because see, what happens is we went to Kim Fox, we couldn't get no satisfaction. We went to Joe Ferguson, couldn't get no satisfaction. You come here, and if we all went in there right now and said we want to go up to IAD and ask them about what I'm saying, they'll say, well, we busy right now. Well, shit. People getting shot and I don't see nobody getting arrested. What they busy doing? I mean, we got to be real. So what I'm saying to y'all is, we even took the next step to adjudicate this woman's misery. Even though she's not here, she deserves some kind of satisfaction. And with y'all help, we're going to get her some satisfaction.
I just want to make one more statement. If you go to the West Side, when we all came to Chicago, the West Side was the tight side because they believed in home values. It makes no sense the way the West Side looks. It makes no sense. You can go down Madison and it's an open drug market. And we have the most so-called powerful political people on the West Side. The West Side to this day still holds its value of the codes of family. So they want to destroy it. We got to start standing up, speaking up, and quit being afraid. You're going to die anyway. Just standing up.
And I close this.
Did you identify yourself?
Oh, identify yourself. Ms. Hicks.
I am Karen Hicks with A Few Good Women. And we started A Few Good Women because it's time for support, love, and wisdom. It's time to stop being afraid. We have to come together and start standing for one another. Nobody's going to save us, you all. We were their slaves. Now we're either woke, dead, don't give a damn, or in jail. So who's their next slaves? Illegals.
Close, because it's raining, I'm going to close this press conference by saying this. Anytime there's a mass shooting, the superintendent comes out, all the deputies come out, all the assistant deputies come out, all the sergeants come out, and ain't nobody getting arrested. What is that? Think about that. What is that? You got all these people standing there talking about what happened. We don't want to know what happened. We know what happened. We want to know what you're going to do about it. And we want to know what you want to do about bringing this gentleman right here to justice. And that's what we're going to do. There ain't no more talking, ladies and gentlemen. It's all work now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, TC.
And for those who want a copy of this press conference, Keith McDonald, talk to him afterwards, and he'll make sure that you get it. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
All right.
This is my friend right here. He wanted Johnny Savory. He want to talk to y'all.
First of all, we can't bring enough justice because we can't bring a son back. But we can bring accountability. And wherever injustice is, we should be on the forefront of it. It doesn't matter, because innocent people is like being shot with a stray bullet. It don't matter if you're an officer. It don't matter if you're walking down the street. It don't matter if you're in the classroom. It don't matter where you are. It is our obligation, just like when we go to war. It's amazing that we can stand by each other's side when you're going to war. And when you get back here on free land, you act like you don't know each other. If we don't have no love, if we don't have no integrity, and we don't have no honor in our institutions, then everybody gonna suffer the fate of injustice. The pandemic did us a great favor. It exposed what injustice really is. You had to pay for a crime that you did not commit. Injustice came over here by a ship. Nobody over here sailed that ship.
Come on.
But you had to pay for it. You know how you felt? Now today, we get to bring accountability to this situation. And the people that's carrying the integrity is standing here in this group. With a few more that's listening. Those of us that are going to hear this interview today, this conference, it's going to make you think. Could my child be next? Could my husband be next? This ain't a black and white issue. It's a people issue.
Come on.
And the people that love justice, have stand on honor and integrity, those are the people we want to represent us. And the people that's not doing that, they need to go.
Thank you very much.
Can you spell your first and last name into the microphone for me, please?
Johnny, Johnnnie, last name Savory, S-A-V-O-R-Y.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love all y'all. It's our time. It's our time. It's time we do the work. Johnny, I
Hey, TC.
Hey, that's your boy.
Hey, TC. Hey, TC.
Can I have your
You know what? I gave out. I think I gave